31 in the border battle, the Pinal County Sheriff has been receiving death threats because of his support for the law, for the immigration law. Sheriff Paul Babeu's office confirms he's received death threats from the Mexican mafia and from the drug cartels. Outside law enforcement teams investigated the threats and found they are credible. Despite it all, Babeu has declined a personal security detail because he says the county's resources are stretched thin. He says they don't change his support of the law and demands for President Obama to secure the border. His office says they have information that the gangs have placed a green light on Babeu's life. Babeu says he's always armed and is always aware of his surroundings.
Imagine this, my friends. Here in the United States, we are putting up with this. And we have a president who, on record, has sued Arizona when clearly this law is constitutional. The media has lied. Another hoax, just like they said Rand Paul was against the Civil Rights Act. Never said that. He was on the satellite going, excuse me? Hold on, I can't hear you. Yes? No, I'm not for getting rid of it. And they said, oh, he said yes. Total manipulation. Just like when somebody calls and says, can you hear me? Yes. And it's the same thing. I've read the law on air. I've read the subsections. All it says, all it states, on record, is that if they pull an illegal alien over for something else and they're an illegal alien, they'll be arrested. It's incredible. And it is an act of treason by the federal government. But the federal government is controlled by offshore corporations. They want a North American Union. They want to get rid of our borders and our laws and our liberties, our freedoms. This is what's happening. Well, my friends, for the last few days, we've talked about the news headlines coming out of Arizona. Mexican drug cartel sends death threats to Arizona County Sheriff. And he does now have time to join us. We appreciate him coming on. Sheriff Paul Babeu, Pinal County, Arizona, who has been issued death threats. There's, I guess, a hit out for him. We should take the Mexican mafia and others serious at their word. They've killed thousands of police and military in Mexico, and he is right down there on the border, upwards of 80 miles now off limits to citizens, and he's been begging for aid from the federal government. The federal government has responded by trying to block the state from even being able to ask an illegal alien, if they're an illegal alien, when they pull them over for drunk driving. So this is treason, in my opinion. Sheriff, thanks for coming on.
Alex, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I know you've got a lot going on, and just had a security meeting. Let's talk about the death threats against you and the serious escalation. And let's talk about the situation that is happening there on the ground in Arizona.
Well, particular to the threats, we get a lot of fan mail, some of it not so pleasant, from our own citizens, some who disagree and make threats and aggressive statements. That's one thing. And some people could get mad at an elected official for raising their taxes or changing an ordinance, but entirely different when you have foreign-born criminals, Mexican mafia or drug cartel members that try to bring their trash here to America. The same stuff that goes on down in Mexico, literally a narco-terrorist state where they kill in broad daylight police chiefs and then take out their family and set it up as an example. You mess with us, this is what's going to happen to you. And only 3 weeks ago, they assassinated what would have been the elected governor of a state down there. Crazy.
And you're not joking around about this. I live in Texas, and I remember citizens being kidnapped on our side of the border. I've had sheriffs on where 3 to 6 miles in different cases. Mexican military will come across. If they've caught on a major highway a drug shipment, the Mexican troops come across, surround 2 lone policemen or sheriff's deputies with machine guns and rob them. I mean, that was going on 4 or 5 years ago. I was interviewing these people, and it would never make the national news or even the regional news. So there's been a cover-up of this. And now things are deteriorating. I mean, I've had scholars on, university professors, State Department people who say that Mexico is a failed state, is in the midst of total collapse. You're down there with death threats and hits out on you. The feds are putting up signs denying the large areas to citizens, saying don't go in these areas. Can you, sir, break down where you are geographically for folks that just joined us and describe what you face on a day-to-day basis?
We're about 80 miles north of the Mexican-U.S. border, and we're not obviously a border county, yet what we're experiencing here on a daily basis is approximately 2,000-plus illegals that come through our county. You're talking the Border Patrol, who apprehended 250,000 illegals last year, which most of them they just do catch and release and send them back with no punishment, shower, a meal, and to the border, ready to try the next day. But that's only one of 2.6 that they say actually get in here. So they're talking 600,000 that come in here. Other people have it estimated more at like 1 million a year, just in Arizona. That's why we're screaming bloody murder, saying, Mr. President Obama, do your job. Secure the border. And here he's in Washington high-fiving with Calderon in front of Congress, and all these Democrats stand up, give him a standing ovation in our country as they're kicking us in the chops, undermining the rule of law. The president should send 3,000 soldiers to our border to secure the border, and meanwhile he sends a team of lawyers with the ACLU to drag us into court. And this is outrageous. Why? Because in my county, 80 miles north of the border, in the heart of Arizona, we have paramilitary squads with automatic weapons that are escorting these drugs up here, and they're bringing this violence into Arizona. We just had a gunfight out there with a competing cartel, and 2 of these smugglers were killed. And they call us for help. And they knew exactly where our deputy 3 weeks before was ambushed by 6 of these smugglers, and triangulated him and put him in a kill zone and tried to kill him. And our deputy was shot. So here, what we have, the reaction is, just as you mentioned, they put up billboard-sized signs that say, danger, warning, stay out, drug and human smuggling, narco, all this different language on these boards. And that's their answer, is to throw up their hands in defeat, saying we can't secure the border, and this is simply outrageous.
Sheriff, roughly what percentage, because I've seen as much as a third on national news being quoted, but roughly what percentage of the great state of Arizona bordering Mexico is now being denied to law-abiding citizens and losing its property values? Because the reports I've seen is that this is going on past Tucson, 80-plus miles in.
It is. There's approximately 2,000 miles of the border from California to Texas. We have 376 of those miles in Arizona. There's portions of directly on the border that are off limits, but then you have areas, and it's hard to put an actual how many miles or acres are under control, but I can tell you this, they have unfettered access. And that's even
so
worse.
a third is basically wild, wild west, and it's denying safety and security to around a third of the state.
We live in a sense in certain parts of Arizona in lawlessness where these people come in and think that they own this area. And and then the crimes that are committed, not just against our citizens, which we've got to stop, but where's the outrage from all these human rights advocates for these people that are being brought here who do want a better life, although it's illegal, that we become the kidnapped capital of America last year, second in the world only to Mexico City. You know, and the president says this lie that somehow our border is secured more than it's ever been. This is craziness.
Did you see Congressman Stark say the border is quite secure?
Yeah. These people are delirious, you know, not even knowing what we're facing, what we're dealing with. And, you know, here, and I served in Iraq, and the Army National Guard still in today. I don't speak for the military, but I can tell you we've been there 9 years now. We spent $750+ billion with a B. Over 4,000 of our American heroes have been killed there. And we can fight wars and liberate countries, stabilize them, all in the sake of democracy and to keep the enemies away. I get all that. But we can't even secure our international border. when we have hundreds of thousands of people that enter our country, we don't even know who they are.
We don't have a country if we don't have a border, and Mexico's got some of the most draconian laws for illegals, and we basically have none. Stay there, sir. We've got to go to break. I want to come back and talk about the hit that's out on you, and this is serious business, ladies and gentlemen. And if we allow this precedent to be set for them to shoot cops, threaten cops, sheriffs, kill sheriffs, then it's over. We'll talk about it when we come back. Stay with us.